But a single currency is not the policy of this government. Mr. Speaker, I would like to offer 4 comments in conclusion. First, the community finds it more difficult to take the urgent, detailed decisions than to discuss longer-term concepts. Moreover, no one should underestimate the extent to which national interests prevail among those who most proclaim their community credentials. Secondly, Britain intends to be part of the further political, economic and monetary development of the European community. That is what the great majority of member states want too. When we come to negotiate on particular points, rather than concepts or generalities, I believe that solutions will be found which will enable the community to go forward as 12. That will be our objective. Third, we are fighting in Europe for British farmers, for British consumers, for a new world trade agreement, for help to the newly democratic countries of Eastern Europe, and for the interests and concerns of our people. And fourth, while we fully accept our commitments under the treaties and wish to cooperate more closely with other countries in the European community, we are determined to retain our fundamental ability to govern ourselves through Parliament. I believe that is the wish of this House, and we on this side will do our best to see that it is fulfilled.
Mr. Speaker, may I thank the Right Honourable Lady for that statement, and firstly welcome the summit statements on the complete solidarity amongst the governments of the community countries against Saddam Hussein, and also on the economic support for the Soviet Union and for Hungary and other Central and Eastern European countries. Mr. Speaker, on the central matter discussed in Rome, is it not clear now that last weekend the Prime Minister managed to unite the rest of the European community against her, to divide her own party, and more important, to further weaken the influence which Britain needs in order to properly uphold our national interests in the European community? Can the Prime Minister tell us why she was apparently taken by surprise by the proposals put by others in Rome? Doesn't she recall that in 1985 she whipped and guillotined the Single European Act through this House? In June 1989 at Madrid, she formally agreed with other heads of government to be determined to achieve the progressive realization of economic and monetary union. At the Dublin summit this year, she agreed to intensify the process of European Union in economic, monetary and political terms. All steps which raised comment at the time. Didn't she know what she was doing on those occasions, or was she living in cloud cuckoo land? Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister says that the government wouldn't surrender the use of the pound sterling as our currency. Could she therefore tell us how she regards the advice of her fellow Conservative Commissioner Britton when he says, you don't have to lose the pound sterling under the single currency plan. You can perfectly well have a note or a coin which states its value in pounds and its fixed equivalent in EQ. It has been agreed that would be possible. And on the subject, Mr. Speaker, of the connection between currency and sovereignty, can the Prime Minister, who abandoned her own Madrid conditions before she put sterling into the exchange rate mechanism, tell the House what will now be her conditions for putting sterling into the narrow banding of the exchange rate mechanism? Mr. Speaker, when the Prime Minister, well, the Prime Minister can come to a debate and explain all these things if she'd only speak properly from the box. Oh, yes. Mr. Speaker, when the Prime Minister conducts herself in the way that she did in Rome this weekend, is it any wonder that she can't even get agreement to the necessary reduction in farm subsidies? Is it any wonder? Oh, yes. No influence at all. No influence at all. Is it any wonder?
Mr. Kinnock.
Mr. Speaker, when she conducts herself as she does, is it any wonder that some of her own party believe that she has undermined the Chancellor's efforts to build support for his so-called hard AQ? Doesn't she realise that such an attitude makes the heads of other government even less susceptible to listening to the sensible arguments that can be deployed in favour of sovereignty in the community? Will the Prime Minister accept that it is reasonable to put the view that the determinants of the pace and direction of economic and monetary union should be the realities of economic performance and the degree of economic convergence, and not arbitrary diary dates? But doesn't she understand that with her method of conducting affairs, she is throwing away that sound argument and losing both potential allies and necessary influence? Won't the Prime Minister appreciate that even now her tantrum tactics won't stop the process of change? They won't change anything at all in the process of change. All they do is to strand Britain in some European second division without the influence over change that we need, the industrial and financial opportunity that we need, and indeed without the real sovereignty that we need.
First, Mr. Speaker, it is our purpose to retain the power and influence of this House and not to denude it of many of the powers. I wonder what the right honourable gentleman's policy is in view of some of the things he said.